Welcome to the Sharpside podcast with
Jacob
and Thomas.
Yes, and welcome to episode 2 of the Sharpside podcast with myself, Jacob Sharp,
and me, Thomas Sharp. How are we doing? You all right?
I'm doing very, very well, and we have a very, very special guest.
We said that in Sydney, didn't we?
You
Jacob,
did.
yeah. Season 2 as well, don't forget. We're still on season 2.
When's the very special guest arriving?
He's here. He's here.
Yes.
And he's here right now. It's Chris Warburton.
Hey.
How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me.
Good. Thank you so much
It's
for
only
coming.
the second episode.
Second episode.
Wow, okay.
Of series 2.
Of series 2.
Of series
Yes,
2.
indeed. Well, you were telling me about some of the great people you've had on already, which is excellent.
Yes.
Really good.
Loads of great people. And it's just getting an insight into people as well, learning more about everyone as well. So it's great stuff. So for the listeners who don't know much about you, Chris, can you just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so I present the Drive programme on BBC Radio 5 Live. If you don't know much about 5 Live, we're the BBC's 24-hour news and sports network across the UK. Drive goes out between 4 and 7. And, it's a blast to do it every day. It's quite a lot of pressure, but, particularly with the times we are living through, because it's the news and sport of the day. That's what it's all about. Yep. I've been at 5 Live for a long time. I've had loads of other opportunities to...
peak times as well, so that's when you get more listeners at that time. Breakfast time too, yeah.
I think Drive is the most listened to programme on the network at the moment.
Oh, that's great stuff, yeah.
I don't like to repeat that too often.
Then,
I presented the weekend breakfast programme for a long time. I was the fill-in guy across the network for absolutely ages, and I've hosted a number of storytelling podcasts for the BBC as well. I've done 4 of those, which was brilliant fun. I've done a bit of telly, did the One Show for a couple of years as a reporter, which was good. Did some stuff on Six Music for a couple of years. But really, my first love in terms of my professional career is the old news and sport. So 5 Live is the place for me to be, really,
Speech-based.
Speech-based
radio.
Mm-hmm. We are both on speech-based radio station as well, student-based, utter radio as well.
Yeah.
So I am the deputy station manager.
Very good.
You're Friday drive time, aren't you?
Friday drive time?
It's a rival going on here. Yeah.
That's it. So why did you choose radio as a career path, Chris?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't probably thought about that for a while. I know how I feel about it now, but if I'm thinking about why I chose it as a career path at the beginning, when I went and many moons ago and I was doing what you guys are doing and training, you were sort of taught about radio and TV, and that was pretty much the end of it because social media and whatever didn't really exist at that time. So, I kind of had the opportunities around TV, but I fell in love with radio. And the reason I fell in love with radio is because of the relationship you have with the listener, I think. And that intimacy you have. And, in the time that I've been doing it, the number of people who tell you what that relationship means to them and that connection you have with the listener is absolutely invaluable. And when I've gone and done TV... frankly, it doesn't feel the same. And TV, I'm not saying there's any dishonesty to it, but there's a lot more kind of smoke and mirrors than I think you find on radio. So when I've gone and done stories around television or whatever, quite a lot of the time it's around the shot, it's around the setup, it's how are we going to get the picture of that. And you can understand why, that's exactly what they have to do. Yeah. But for radio, we turn up and it's very much, right, what's happening here? Speak to the people, get an understanding of what's what. And that to me is like complete honesty when it comes to telling a story. And I remember, again, when I was in the situation that you guys are in now, learning the craft and learning the trade and learning what you wanted to do professionally. I remember one of the tutors saying, this career that you've chosen is going to open doors to people and places that you probably can't imagine at the time. I remember sitting there in the class thinking, oh, yeah, whatever, mate, 21-year-old thinking I knew it all. But actually, those words ring true in my head all the time, actually. And it gets reinforced every year as well because, I've done this for a very long time. And yet every year there are new circumstances, there are new stories. There are new ways of covering stories as well, and people to speak to that I've never done before. And I
You
mean,
can also get creative with radio as well. Between you and the listener, it's a very personal medium.
yeah.
You're not just talking to everyone. I keep on saying to my mates, when people say guys, it really frustrates me when you're talking to one person,
Yes.
one person only.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hear that a lot when people say hello everybody or hello everyone, and that's they're cool and whatever. But I always find, you always have to consider that you're talking to that one person, because obviously that is your experience as a listener. And as a presenter, you always have to remind yourself of what the listening experience is like. And actually, the best radio, and again, because I suppose I've been doing it for a while and experience kicks in and all that kind of thing, and the sort of comfort, if you like, of being in front of the microphone, sometimes you almost sort of forget that you're on the radio, and when you're talking to somebody who's bearing their soul and telling you real details about their life, which is always, a privilege for us that they've been willing to do that, I think, and it's brilliant that people are willing to do that. And a lot of the time, their motivation is, to be a voice of encouragement to other people who are going through something similar or whatever. I always sit there and sometimes think, I need to just speak to this person like I would if I was in the pub.
Yeah.
Or if I was sitting on a park
Chatting
bench.
to your mate, really, isn't it?
Do you know what I
Your
mean?
friend, yeah.
And that is what they deserve as well, rather than that whole kind of very formal and what you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's the best radio,
That is,
frankly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about interviews now then. What is the most biggest interview you've ever done?
The biggest
the
interview.
biggest interview.
I mean, there's different ways of approaching that. I think because sometimes it can be because of the event that you're covering.
Yeah.
And by default, all of those interviews you're doing on that particular day are going to feel big.
Oh yeah.
So, for example, I was one of the first voices in the morning on the breakfast programme at the last general election. I'm thinking of that now because I was down on College Green in the gazebo, and there we were. And, obviously on a morning like that, all of those interviews are going to feel quite big, right?
Yeah.
I was there the day after the Grenfell disaster.
Okay, yeah.
And that was obviously a massive moment in this country's history.
Yeah.
And obviously needed to be treated with huge sensitivity. And again, they all felt like big interviews in that moment because, again, it was my sort of duty to do that job well on that day. You don't want to leave a story like that and think, I didn't rise to the occasion. So there's a degree of pressure on you for that. But then there's the more single interviews, which is probably more what you're getting at.
Yeah.
And I always say, I mean,
what what you've just said, they're quite big.
As events, and I could sort of pick out loads more of those kind of things. But I also. And sometimes you have these kind of 45-minute interviews where you might be trying to, tease something out of somebody who's well known or somebody famous or a politician or whatever it might be. And again, they are kind of big moments.
Somebody in the public eye who everybody knows.
Exactly. I always think the one which will always stick in my head as a big interview for me personally, and it wasn't a long interview, far from it, but it was the opening day of the World Cup in South Africa, this was. Yeah. And there we were in Soweto, the massive township in Johannesburg. And the reason this was big for me is because, so this was 2010, so that's 16 years ago now. Yeah. And I was just getting to a point as a presenter where 5 Live were giving me opportunities to kind of show myself, right, and to prove myself. And I remember going to South Africa knowing that was going to be quite a pivotal moment. And my wife was saying, you just got to make the most of the opportunities you got, take them where they're there and all the rest of it. Anyway, opening day, I remember going into Soweto. It was really early in the morning. We were doing the breakfast programme, and I remember getting this cab, and they had told people to go to work in green and gold of the national team colours, right? And I thought, are people really going to do that? If they asked you to do that in this country, a few might not. And they really did. And I
Yeah.
saw these people really early in the morning going on. We're in this cab, and there's this kind of Afrobeat music that the cab driver was playing. I remember being on this hill, looking down onto Soweto and thinking, wow, opening day of the World Cup, Soweto, it's all happening. First time the World Cup had been in Africa. And then we go down, we start doing the programme from this street called Vilakazi Street, where Nelson Mandela had a house, etc., etc. It's a very famous street. And I'm doing this bit of recording for the programme, really soft stuff. I think it was some sort of dance that some local people were teaching me or whatever. And a colleague runs over and goes, "You got to come over here now." And I was like, okay. And I ran over and I had a mic in my hand. She thrust a mic in my hand, like a live mic. And she said, and I looked over, and there was a guy called Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who... you're probably a bit young for this, but he was a pivotal figure.
Yeah, I'm not really aware of
No.
that.
So he was a pivotal figure in the whole fight against apartheid, right? And he was very much a kind of right-hand man to Nelson Mandela. And a few decades ago, he was a much more well-known figure. And I mean, he will be a very well-known figure historically. And I come over, and he's famous because he was this sort of really over the top figure, and I said, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and all these cameras were sort of moving backwards down the street, capturing him, and there he was with South Africa's scarf, and I just went, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, you're live on Radio 5 Live. What does it feel like on the opening day of the World Cup? And he gave his hallmark, his trademark. He just went, "Yippee!" which is what he always said. What he always said. And he went, "The world has returned to Africa." And my wife said she was just in the kitchen at home back in the UK just going, "OMG, this is insane."
It's a statement.
She knew what
Yippee!
a moment that would be
Love
for
it.
me, as much as getting him on air on 5 Live on that particular
That is
morning. So,
mental.
big interviews, I would say, come in different forms.
Yeah. Gosh, that is. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said doing reporting for the one show as well. I mean, that's a big thing. How was that?
So I mean, I only did it for a couple of years, and I think I did about 12 films for them, something like that. It was good. I enjoyed it, and again, you end up in interesting situations. What was nice was I would come to them with original journalism, and in a way, you sort of saw the power of television quite a lot of the time, and the number of people who are watching a show like that at any one time. Because I remember putting some ideas in the pot, doing the film, and then you see the pickup on that, and then the newspapers pick up on it, and then BBC Sport wanted a bit of it, and you see how those things can sort of cascade through the industry in a way. I mean, there's sort of weird parts to it as well, in that when they're setting up a shot, you'll have seen, quite often they'll have a shot of someone walking down the street, and maybe they'll have a close up of like their shoes as they're walking along. Here I go, I'm off to meet so and so, and there's the shoes walking down the street, and then the next shot is you knocking a door and the close up of the door knock and them answering, and then you go, you know what I mean? So it's all, that's sort of what I was getting at when I was saying about the way that television goes about it. I understand all of that, but and it's kind of performance in a way, isn't it? I spoke to somebody else who, I won't name their name, but they did a similar job on the One Show for years, and they just said, do you know what, in the end I just got annoyed of just knocking so many doors and having the close up of me knocking the door.
How many doors am I knocking?
Yeah, exactly, over however long. And so it's just a very different experience. Also, pieces to camera, which I'm sure you guys are going to be learning how to do. And I just fall apart when I'm doing pieces to camera. My memory's just
I take
hopeless.
17, 18, 19 attempts doing them,
which is sort of all right when you're doing it at a student level, and everyone's kind of like, oh no, that's all right, you're learning, you'll get better. But when you're doing it for the One Show and you've got the camera person and the producer just going, it's all right, Chris, you do it again, mate. And they're thinking, I've got to get it right this time. And you're cocking it up
even
again.
like when you get thrown in the deep end and going, you need to do it done the first time because it's going live on TV, and I've done that for my student television back in college days.
Yeah.
And I went, Thomas, you need to do it first time because you're all live on a student. I went, oh my gosh. So you can't take 2019 attempts when you need to do it first time.
Yeah. You'll get better though. You will
yeah.
get better. I mean, I had a couple of really weird scenarios as well when I did the one show, because I did a film on my dad. Right, he had to have brain surgery for this condition called essential tremor, where you have real shakes, right? And he had this brain surgery, and we followed his progress. And then he was on the One Show sofa with me immediately afterwards, and it was, that was quite a moment with my old man and all the rest of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was another one when I was there with Cliff Richard, right? And he was talking about his career, and he had a new record out and all this kind of stuff. And I was sat on the sofa with him. I had been booked to come on to talk about this podcast I had done on a really famous cult called, it was the Waco cult in America, in Texas, a guy called David Koresh, and I'd done this podcast called End of Days, which is a good listen, by the way, but that's by the by. I was like sort of off to the side in the green room bit, and I was seeing like mates of mine on WhatsApp waiting for me to go on because they knew I was on, and they were like, okay, it's still Cliff Richard. All right, Cliff Richard's still on. And they were like, when's Chris going to be on? And I was just following it. And they were like, Chris is going to ruin the vibe massively here. Because it was all like, nice celebration. Here's Cliff Richard, isn't it nice? And I'm going to come on and talk about a really horrific moment in like American cultural history. I could sort of feel that I was coming in and like,
it's a bit harsh.
Well, I think it was fair, harsh but fair, really. And so it proved to be. But anyway, yeah.
Yep. And you say about like BBC 5 Live as well.
Yeah.
Has there ever been any highlights you've had at BBC 5 Live so far?
Well, I mean, 5 Live's been the majority of my career. And I could go on forever, really. I won't. But, covering 2 Football World Cups. I've covered 2 Olympics. One was in London, one was in Rio. I would probably say that's a massive highlight. I've covered the American presidential elections. I've covered stories around the world and in this country. And actually, the main highlight, the funny thing is, you sort of talk about these big events, and I've probably been a part of most major news stories you can think of over the last 15, 20 years or so, one way or another. But actually, some of the highlights, if you like, are what we were talking about before, when people were willing to share their stories with you, and just their willingness to open up, and I don't know, that's a real privilege to me. Doing the big stuff is amazing, and going to come on, going to Rio and covering the Olympic Games is pretty good.
That's up there, isn't it?
Good.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that you'd think would be highlighted. I had an opportunity for a while to do like the entertainment beat.
Oh yeah.
And I would go and do the junkets, where you go in and then go and sit for 15 minutes with a big name, and there was all sorts of film stars and whatever that I did that with. And I remember at the time people think, oh, that's amazing, that's amazing. But I think what actually you learn as time goes by is that some things that you think are going to be really amazing and fun are maybe not quite suiting you.
Yeah.
And actually, I sort of look back on that now and go, do you know, I'm not sure, even though everyone's telling me I should really enjoy it, I'm not sure I really did. I found it quite kind of vacuous. I found it quite limiting because they try and sort of say, oh, you can't ask this, you can't ask that. And also, you're going and seeing some quite bad films some of the time. Yeah. And then you're sitting with the the celebrity, and you're not really in a position to go, yeah, I saw your film earlier, I thought it was crap. So you have to sort of go along with the general narrative of, oh yeah, well that was fun, and then and now we'll ask a question you're not really anticipating, and maybe that'll be a bit of fun. And I just thought, is this really my vibe? Yeah. And it wasn't really.
It's got to suit the right vibe.
You've got to learn that definitely, as well,
definitely. Yeah. Next question I would say as well, as me and Jacob are both students, this is going out for a student platform as well, which is we do put it on our student station, Utter Radio. What advice have you got for students trying to get and break into the radio industry? If that's music radio or speech radio, what advice would you give them?
I watched a couple of clips from some of your previous episodes, and I saw you ask similar questions, and it's a right question to ask. Yeah. And I could easily sit there and say, be persistent, knock at doors, and Don't take no for an answer and all that kind of thing. And that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And of course, I think that goes without saying in my mind. My advice, in a way, would be don't be too picky at the start.
Okay.
Because I think, and I'm taking myself back to when I was in your shoes, I think a lot of people sort of thought, and I find this when I go and talk to students in bigger groups, that I think there's a belief that you might walk into the job of your dreams straight away.
That's right.
And look, that might happen to a very, 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 very small minority of people. But in a way, you almost don't want that to happen.
No.
And that might sound counterintuitive, but you've got to learn your craft. You're learning it now, and you've got to learn what is good and bad for you.
We're getting the
as well.
experience now. We're getting stuff like this is getting put on a portfolio. So,
this is it, 100%.
Yeah.
So I went out into BBC Local Radio for my first job. I learned reporting, production, newsreading, editing, the whole lot, everything, bit of presenting, and I began to understand what I was best at.
Yes,
really. That didn't necessarily mean that you were then going to get loads of opportunities in that thing straight away, but at least you had a slightly clearer idea. And I think, in a way, particularly when jobs, it's so competitive and challenging is a good word, I think, isn't it, to describe it now. I think it's about taking the opportunities as they arise. Now, it might not be the number one thing you want to do in life, but as long as it's related to the thing you want to do. And I would say, you guys may want to work in radio, but if someone turns up and says, all right, well, there's this social media gig. Right? Or if someone says, actually, even there's this press office role, 3 months or a 6-month gig, you can't. I don't think in this day and age that necessarily people are in a position to go, well, that's not what I want to do.
No.
And
when you're starting off, you can't just say that. Like I got taught from my tutor at college. I'll shout him out again, Lee Barber.
Big up Lee Barber.
Yeah,
who we've had on the podcast.
We've had him on the podcast,
yes.
And say yes, worry about it afterwards.
Exactly.
Say yes to opportunities.
And also the other thing is when you're in that opportunity and you're doing it, and this might feel difficult because obviously you're going to be doing a job and you're going to be wanting to put your all into it.
Yeah.
But you can use that time when you're in that gig to keep hustling for the thing you really want to do. It doesn't stop just because you get that next job. You don't then just sit there for the next however long going, oh, this is me then.
Yeah.
You're still working out, you're still making connections. And actually, here's another little bit of advice. I think sometimes people think, I'm going to get in contact with that company to find out what it takes to get a job there. And they immediately think of the people who are right at the top. Yeah. And that's logical, I suppose, because they're the ones who are going to be making the decision. But actually, it seems more sensible to me to find people who are a bit lower down, maybe in the medium part of it, and say, listen, I really like what you do at your company. You've obviously got a job there. And I can see in your LinkedIn, you've been doing it for a couple of years or whatever. Yeah. I'm really keen as to understand how you got that job and also to understand a little bit more about it. Is there a chance of going for a coffee? Now, those people, they're not being hassled all the time like the people at the top are. Yeah, the people at the top have just got so many emails, internal, external. They're just trying to get through them and delete them and go, right, move on to the next thing. Oh, who's this person hassling me? Might not even get back. Yeah. But those people in the middle, don't get me wrong, they're going to be busy, but there's every chance they'll feel flattered. Oh, someone's asking me about my career. Oh, okay, all right.
It's like when I messaged you, I was like, I didn't expect it. I was kind of like, I'll just give him a message, see.
Yeah, but I'm a nice guy. What can I say?
There you go. Yeah.
But those people, I think they will be willing because they want to impart their wisdom and knowledge. Now, then you have a conversation with them. Then you've got a contact at that company that you like the look of.
Yes.
And then the next time a job comes up, you can say, oh, look, what do I need to do to get this gig? You know what I mean? Or maybe they'll mention you to the boss if there needs some sort of, very, very, very part-time role.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I met this person, actually. He seemed really good.
Yeah.
You never know. That's how you grease the wheels, you know what I'm saying?
You never know
meeting people.
Who's passing your name around and go, oh, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, and on that as well, sorry, I'm going on here, but I find sometimes we get people who come into 5 Live, right, even for a day, a week, a few days, whatever it might be. And sometimes, not always, sometimes you get people who sort of feel like you're doing them a favour. Yeah. And you sit there and you think, you don't realise what this opportunity is.
No.
If you come across really well, you might get another opportunity to come back in here. And then you might get an opportunity for us to give you some proper work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes you get they haven't bothered learning about the station. They haven't bothered learning about what we do.
First thing you do before you even step inside, you obviously email them for a coffee chat, or do you want to get some work experience? But I got learned as well that before you go and speak to that person, research about
Research,
it.
100%.
Yeah, research.
Exactly.
Research
right.
is key.
Understand what you're walking into.
Yeah, definitely. So,
There you go. That was
It's
more
like-
than one thing, wasn't it? Sorry.
Don't keep him as a stranger.
No, don't.
much.
Yeah, keep on getting in touch. If they don't want it, they'll obviously not get back to you. But if they do,
This is it.
yeah.
You got it.
Me and Thomas as well. When we started university, we obviously have the same surname as well, which is a bit of a coincidence.
That is a bit
right?
weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you had any coincidences yourself?
What, with my surname?
Just in general.
Coincidences. Oh.
To be honest, I
just-
expect that question to myself.
Just in general, your surname.
Coincidences. I mean, I'll have had loads of coincidences.
Anyone that pops to your mind?
Not really. Not off the top of my head. I'm just trying to think of things that have been coincidental when I've been on air. No, I'd have to think about that one. Forget it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any highlights you've been from when you've been on air? Any like callers that like funny moments kind of thing
Oh,
between
God.
between interviewing
Between
them?
you and the listener, or has something bad happened on there, or
Yeah.
anything like that?
I mean, there's the problem is so many things happen,
Yeah.
and it all just kind of rolls into one in the end. I mean, there's a lot of funny incidents. I mean, God, where do I even begin? I'm just trying to. I mean, honestly,
Sorry to get you on the top of your head.
No. I should have thought about some of these before, shouldn't I? I think when I interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? You know Arnie,
Wow,
yeah.
Cool.
That was on one of those junkets I was talking about earlier, and I remember that I was basically thinking, you get 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, right, I've got to try and soften him up here. You know, you can't walk in and just start going straight into the movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just went, I said, I like your cowboy boots. You're wearing these cowboy boots.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh yes. He goes, they're gold tipped. And I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. And he goes, gold heel. And I was like, okay. And I said, have you got other cowboy boots? And he went, I have a huge collection. And I was like, all right, how many have you got? And he was like, I have about 50 boots, silver tipped, silver heeled, different types of leather, all of this. And then you're sitting there, and I suddenly thought to myself, I've literally just been talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger about cowboy boots for about half of the time that I've got allocated to him. And I wasn't recording anything.
No.
So then you sort of have to get it going and
Get
into the proper chat.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
Well,
definitely-
I mean, look, there's many funny things that have happened over the years.
Probably couldn't name it all.
You'd be here forever, you know, to be honest. But yeah,
I want to ask as well, why BBC 5 Live? What made you go into 5 Live and the BBC? Were there any other radio stations you touched on beforehand, or?
no. I started in BBC local radio, and then I went freelance for a while, and I worked for all sorts of different organisations. I did worked for Sky for a bit. I worked for a thing called Sky News Radio, which did syndicated bulletins. I think it still exists actually, for commercial radio.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I worked for GMTV, the ITV morning program, as was. So various kind of outlets, but I'd always had my eye on 5 Live.
Yeah.
Because and I worked there for a long time as a producer. First of all, before I got properly into presenting, and it just felt like it was always the right sort of marriage for me, because it's serious when it needs to be, but it's informal in the way that we do things as well, and that continues. I'm really into my sport.
Yeah.
I'm really into my news, so the two coming together.
Sports and news, what 5 Live do, so
exactly.
Yeah.
And again, working for the BBC and trying to get that middle ground and that impartiality and that balance and all of that stuff, which we're rigorously under the spotlight about, quite reasonably so. I like that challenge as well of trying to be that voice of impartiality, and I'm not sure I'm necessarily, when I sort of see the rivals and the opposition or whatever, that I'm that necessarily suited to that whole thing of I want to be on my soapbox and this is what I think and all of that. You know, I'm sure I could do it fine, but I feel more naturally aligned to where 5 Live and the rest of the BBC is in terms of trying to, you know, find that middle ground on stories, you know. So that's why, you know, it's a sort of perfect radio station for me, really. And also, you know, the opportunities you get.
Yeah, definitely,
Again, has kind of kept me there, you know.
Yeah, when did you get, like, what, I mean, all right, saying this radio bug, when did you fall in love with radio?
Probably when I was at university.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember. I'll tell you this. So I did a music program because I'm a huge music fan, and I did a music program.
What university did you go to?
Went to Leicester University.
Leicester,
They just started the radio station. It was called Lush FM then. I'm not sure if it's
what
still
a
called
name
that now. Yeah. Leicester University. I didn't even know what the rest of it was, but it had an FM license, and that was quite early on. Not a massive radius, you know, but it was still great to be doing. So I did this music program, and then this goes to show the internet, because I'm 50 this year. The internet had only just really got going. Yeah. And it was the very first place I ever used the internet was at Leicester University. I mean, it's mad to tell you guys this. It makes it feel like I'm sort of talking about the invention of the wheel, you know what I mean? But then there used to be this thing on TV called teletext, where you go on, just imagine like a telly, and then you would press this button. And I suppose it was sort of like an early internet in a way, because you would go page, I can't remember what the different pages were, but there'd be like sports pages. You go like 401 or whatever. Yeah. And then it would have, you know, the menu, and then you'd be like, the scores from last night, 402 and whatever. And you'd have that of news as well. So it'd be a news page, and it would have like the headlines. It was all just in type. There was no pictures or anything. And you type those numbers in, and up it would come. And honestly, I then got into doing news reading at the Lush FM, and I got up early in the morning because I'd be on the morning shift kind of thing. It's a bit of a precursor.
What time in the morning?
Yeah, not that early. I mean, not compared to doing a breakfast program, which I did for however long.
6 a.m.
You know,
up at 4:30. No,
but like, where are you getting your news from? Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, I suppose I could go and buy a paper, but I would just get it all from teletext. And I suppose these days you'd probably take a photo of the screen with your phone, wouldn't you? But you didn't have camera phones either. No. So I was sitting there, and I would write down what I was reading off teletext in order to have it for my news bulletin. And you sort of think to yourself, Christ, that is mad. Like totally mad, isn't it? But that's what I did in terms of getting my bulletins together. So I suppose that whole process of, you know, being able to take something big, like lots of information, and distill it into something small, which is what I guess you guys learn to do all the time when writing a bulletin.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Writing a cue and all of those
bulletins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even when we're writing the script for shows as well, like the middle, beginning, and the end.
Yeah.
What is the story behind that radio show? What are you going to talk about when that microphone goes up? Are you interacting with that listener? Yeah. Are you entertaining your listener? And
exactly. Yeah. And then it just sort of grows, really. And you know, the more, you know, it's a strange thing because you have to adapt to the kind of audience and situation that you're facing. So you go into BBC local radio and you're aware it's a smaller audience, but yet it felt like a massive audience from where I come from. You know, I suppose if I went back there now, it would feel like quite a small audience. But that you change your style a little bit in respect of that, and obviously it's an older age group, and it's a more local feel, and all of those kind of things. So it's just, you know, you learn as you go, and actually the more, and they always talk about it, if you want to get into presenting, you know, it's always about miles on the clock. Yeah. That's what they talk about. The more you're in front of a mic, the better and better you get. Yeah. And that's the only way that you're going to get better. And wherever you're able to get that exposure, then do it, you know.
Did you ever look at any other career paths at all, or like, if radio wasn't you, would you ever like, what other career?
Yeah. No, I mean, so I initially wanted to be an actor.
Oh, right, okay,
And when I went to university, I did quite a lot of stuff to do with the university theatre and all of that kind of thing. And I suppose it was as I was getting into radio at that time. And, you know, I think they are sort of related in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, there is a bit of a kind of performance element. I remember actually when we were I went to Cardiff journalism school, and there was this American guy who would do these lectures for us, and we asked him for advice for a little film we were doing for the end of the year kind of thing, just in the group we were in, and we said, "What's your advice?" And he went, "Well," he goes, "I was friends with the actor, the late great Spencer Tracy, who is this kind of Hollywood iconic figure." And he goes, and I asked him for some advice. And he goes, and obviously he was an actor, but these are related industries. And even he said it. And I thought, that's interesting, because I was going through that. And he goes, and Spencer Tracy turned to me and he said, "Take a deep breath and say the goddamn lines." And I thought, yeah, that's kind of pretty similar for what we do in our trade.
Yeah.
You've just got to get in there. Sometimes, you know, when there's a big breaking story and I know it's a really big deal and I know it's going to have a massive audience. For example, the day the Queen died, I was on in the evening.
Oh,
I
really?
got called in for the evening programme, and we had just come from the main shared cross BBC programme, and my boss said to me, "So when you start on air, you're going to be on Radio 1, you're going to be on 1 Extra, Radio 2, not Radio 3 because they were playing music, Radio 4 were doing their own thing, 5 Live, 5 Sports Extra, 6 Music, Asian Network, 1 Extra, all BBC local radio, BBC Scotland, BBC Wales, all the rest of it." And she went, "So, yeah." And I just went, "Okay." And, you know, your heart is going big time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty full-on moment in your life.
Definitely.
And particularly with the responsibility of getting it, needing to get it right.
Yes, 100%.
But, I think there's something in that, you know, take a deep breath and say the lines, you know what I mean?
The amount of stress that must be coming through. It's like,
there's nowhere else to go.
Where do I hide?
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Oh, gosh, that must be... Does your job ever get stressful? Like, do you have, like any other crash moments or anything like that?
It's I still find it really quite stressful.
Do you ever get nervous doing your first link? I know you do drive every single day, so do you ever like nervous doing your first link?
Again, it depends on the circumstances. It depends on the day. I think on the really big days, I think it's right. The nerves are still there.
Yeah.
I think actually if the nerves aren't kicking in, then it probably means you're being a bit too relaxed and you're not caring enough about your performance. But that's not to say that, you know, you could probably go and ask a footballer or any kind of sports person or an actor who's going out on stage. Those people know what they're doing. Yeah. And I'd like to think we know what we're doing. Yeah. But that's not to say that you shouldn't be feeling a little bit nervous, because I think it probably shows that you actually care about what you're doing as well. You know?
It's like whenever I go on air, it's like I get a little bit nervous. I'm just like, I have that thing of like, I
want to get nervous, but I'm sounding a bit shaky.
I want to do this right, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. 100%.
Yeah.
You know,
that shouldn't really ever go.
No.
Yeah. And I want to feel excited about it.
Feel excited about it, but then also it's about backing yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm both looking forward to speaking to Chris today. I got a little bit nervous. For, oh my gosh,
I got a little bit nervous. Coming in
both
here,
got nervous,
you know.
Well, no.
Didn't we all? Didn't we all?
You did well, yes.
Right, shall we move on?
Shall we move on?
Quick fire.
Quick fire. Okay, I'm not very good with quick fire. As you can tell, I go on a bit.
6 quick fire questions.
Okay, go for it.
So the first one is favourite holiday destination.
Oh, okay. So it's not necessarily to do with career.
No, just in general knowledge. I should have said that before.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna say Italy. I don't know what it is, and I know it's Europe, and it's probably not even the most exotic of places, but there's something about the way they go about it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They're good people, aren't they? Yeah. And I've never had a bad time there when I've been.
Italy, good pizza.
Oh, mate, the food. Do you know what I mean? Everything. Yeah. I just love the place.
Yeah.
That moves on to the next question.
Yeah.
What's your favourite meal or food?
Well, no, actually, my favourite meal and food is curry.
Okay.
I would eat curry every day of the week. Curry. You have to watch the old belly.
What's your favourite type of curry, though?
Very good question. I'm gonna go a little bit left field, only because I eat quite a lot of it. It's a curry called a chicken patia.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a little bit. You know how Indian curries can go a little bit sweet and sour in a different way to if you're having Chinese food.
Yeah.
And then it's got a little bit of kind of coconut in it as well. But they are, mate, a patty is good. I sometimes, I mean, I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? But sometimes I'll go a bit off menu with the old pattia.
Yeah.
You know, if I see it and I'll say to the guy, you do a pattia. Although, here's another thing as well. I know this is quite fun.
It's fine. You go for it.
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
Everyone always orders a naan bread, right? Naan means bread.
Yes.
So you're ordering a bread
Yeah.
if you ask for a naan bread. I'm just going to say that straight out. You're ordering a bread. But also, my local guy, he said to me, you want to try a paratha? Have you ever had a paratha?
No.
Different type of bread. Right, it's different. Don't get me wrong.
In fact, I think my girlfriend, when we went at Christmas time, I think my girlfriend had a paratha.
You go for a paratha.
Yeah, I think,
it's a bit more flaky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, she did. Yeah, I'm sure she did.
Well, you see,
yeah.
everyone goes for naan. I love a naan, don't get me wrong, right? But he said paratha, and he just looked at me and he goes, between you and me, I said, what's that? He goes, it's the Rolls Royce of bread. And I was like, all right. Yeah. So I generally go for a paratha these days. That's just a little golden tip for you.
There we go.
Hard to turn your back on a naan, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Let's be real.
No.
Garlic naan. I had a garlic naan. Oh, my gosh.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. Hey!
What's the old Peshwari in it as well?
Yeah.
Peshwari naan. That's your coconut, isn't it?
That is just, coconut,
something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next question?
let's do it.
Go on.
What's your go-to place in Manchester? Is there any, like, go-to bars?
Favourite places.
Favourite place in Manchester?
Yes. I've got lots of favourite places in Manchester. I go to many, many different places because I go to lots of gigs, you see. But then it depends on the gig and the sort of vibe that you're going for. I love Albert Hall. For gigs. You know the Albert Hall?
Yeah.
Do you go to many gigs there?
No, I know of it. I don't think I've been to any gigs there. No.
Oh, you need to get in there. It's an unbelievable building. It's this old sort of, I don't know, like
I think
Gregorian
Sharpside
church or something, which they've done up.
Yeah.
And some of the gigs I've been there, I'm looking forward to the gig anyway.
Tall Jacob.
But it's so atmospheric.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Where else? There's a you know, like a tap house.
Yeah.
But because I live near Stockport.
Right.
Oh, right. Right. Oh, I know a couple of friends what live in Stockport.
There's a really, really good tap house called the Runaway Brewery, which is down near. It's right by the viaduct and the bus station down.
Oh, right, okay.
And it is fantastic. Really, really good. Where else? I've said too many now.
We might have to do a podcast from those places.
We might have to, the Albert Hall. Sharpside podcast goes to the Albert Hall. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Favourite sports? Or favourite team?
So football.
Football, yeah.
Kind
definitely.
of goes without saying. I'm an old Wimbledon fan.
Okay.
From the old days of Vinnie Jones and Dennis Wise and all of that. It's sort of been a bit harder to follow them in recent times, just from living up 200 miles away and working the weekend for about 10 years. But still, I go down to see Stockport County when I can, quite a lot, and they've been on the up. Football all day long, really.
Definitely. Yeah.
What about you guys?
I'm football, but I would say, do I dare say this?
You said many answers to me.
I've said loads. I've got to support Leeds United just for the family.
Right, oh yeah.
But I'm in between. My dad's a Rotherham fan.
Okay.
My granddad's a Barnsley fan, so I'm literally in that circle.
In that whole lot.
In that circle,
you can keep a lookout for all.
Yeah.
Portsmouth supporter.
Yeah, fair enough.
Pompey.
Pompey, play up Pompey.
Born and bred.
Yeah. Good work.
Doing
okay again now, aren't they?
Doing okay.
After the wilderness.
We've got them people down the road on Sunday, Southampton.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be interesting,
We'll
isn't
have
it?
to see.
Wow. You going?
I'm not actually going, but I'll be watching on TV.
Yeah.
I'll hear him in the kitchen just shouting and bawling like that.
Yeah.
We both live together, so yeah.
Going on to football as well, who do you think will win the 2026 World Cup?
Obviously England.
I mean, do you know? I think the temperatures are going to work against England. I think that's going to be the problem. If it was in a more temperature-friendly part of the world, I could stick my neck out for England. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think is it the quarter-final that if they get through, it'll be at the Aztec in Mexico.
Yes,
I mean,
that's it, yeah.
I mean that's gonna. I mean, if that's in daytime, it would just be insane,
know.
won't it?
The times as well. Then when they played, us like,
you know. So
What are the times?
they're going to be played like quite late, I think, isn't it?
Late our time or late their time?
Late our time.
Yeah, so I think they'll be sort of afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, there are that many matches, aren't there?
Yeah.
Which I think is a bit mad as well, actually, because if you're someone who tries to follow as much of the World Cup as you can, you're going to be following it all day and all night, aren't you? Just because of the number of matches.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
it's a hard one.
It's Spain.
Spain. Yeah.
France again.
Yeah.
They're going to be in the mix, aren't they?
Yeah.
Argentina will be in the mix again.
Brazil, I think, personally.
They're looking better, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't back against the South American team in the kind of environment there.
Oh, good luck to the lads, but I don't think we're going to win.
No, it doesn't feel like it, does it?
No.
It's going to be the usual thing of just being amazing in qualifying,
and then
not conceding, scoring 31 goals or something, and ridiculous. And then you get there and everyone's like, nah, forget it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Favourite podcast. Careful, Chris.
Do you know
the pressure's on?
Do you know what? I'm going to be honest. I always used to kind of, because I did a few true crime podcasts and stuff, and I'd go on true crime podcasts, and people would ask me what my favourite podcast was, and I would just think, oh right, this is going to be a really unsatisfactory answer to you. Okay. My problem is I spend all of my life listening to the news and listening to sport as it's happening, right? And then when I'm not doing that, I'm listening to music because I love music.
Got a favourite band you go to?
I'm a kind of soul, hip hop, jazz funk kind of guy. That's how I've always been. Disco, all of that kind of thing. However, I tell you a band who's good at the moment, which is different to what I would normally listen to, is Geese. Have you listened to them? You listen to Geese?
No.
Never listened to Geese.
Got tickets to see them in March. American band.
we'll have to listen to them.
Yeah.
They are doing good things at the moment, so they're worthwhile. So podcasts, I don't really listen to many podcasts. I know that's crazy, but I just don't have the time.
Well,
I know that's mad, right? And I know that's a really unsatisfactory answer. The one podcast I listen to every day is a podcast called At Home with Sam and Anne, and it's a guy called Sam Coates, who's a political editor at Sky, and Anne McElvoy, who works for Politico, and they do 20 minutes every day, and it's basically a setup for the day in terms of, but it's great because they know everything that's going on at Westminster, so it's a very sort of Westminster-driven podcast, but in terms of their insight of what is going on in British politics, which is very much their remit, it's really, really helpful. And actually, here's another thing. If you're serious about wanting to get into what your particular thing you want to get into, you've got to immerse yourself in it.
Definitely.
You've got to flood yourself with it. You know what I mean?
And the Sharpside podcast to your list as well.
Oh, yeah, mate. Well, that goes without saying. That goes without saying. Sharpside.
Sharpside podcast.
That's where it's at.
Right. Should we wrap it up?
Let's do it.
Great.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for your time, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
We really appreciate it.
Great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And BBC 5 Live Drive Time every single day.
Back
4
on
till
it.
7 p.m. BBC Sounds and also just BBC Radio as well. So
You got it.
Yeah.
Promote it better than I do.
Yeah, listen to Chris on BBC 5 Live. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Loved it.
And yes, I've been Thomas.
And I've been Jacob.
And that is the wrap-up of episode 2 of season 2.
With Chris Warburton.
The Sharpside Podcast with
Jacob and Thomas.
Thank you for listening.